Have you ever found yourself just staring at a deadline, knowing exactly what you need to do, but you just can't? Well, you're definitely not alone. But what if I told you the reason you procrastinate has almost nothing to do with being lazy or not having enough willpower? Let's get into it because the research tells a completely different story.
Yeah, this is the question, isn't it? That incredibly frustrating voice in your head that just plays on a loop. It's the one that beats you up, makes you feel weak or undisciplined, and it just sucks you into this spiral of guilt and frustration that, honestly, so many of us know way too well.
And this is where we completely flip the script. For years, we've all been taught that procrastination is some kind of character flaw. But a whole bunch of new research from psychology and neuroscience tells us that label isn't just wrong, it's actually harmful. It completely misses the real root of the problem.
Okay, so let's bust the first big myth right now. We always think we're avoiding the work, right? That boring report, that tough project, that phone call you've been dreading. But here's the thing. The work itself, it's almost never the real enemy.
Dr. Timothy Pickle, who is one of the leading researchers in this whole field, he just nails it with this. He says, procrastination is a subconscious desire to feel good right now. This one idea changes everything. See, procrastination isn't a failure of your productivity system. It's an emotional impulse. It's your brain trying, in a very misguided way, to make you feel better in this exact moment.
And that brings us to this crucial idea. Procrastination is really just an emotion regulation strategy. When a task makes you feel bad, stressed out, anxious, maybe insecure, your brain's number one goal is to just stop that bad feeling. And delaying the task gives you instant relief. It's a quick fix for your mood, but as all the research shows, it comes at a huge cost to your future self.
And this chart just lays it out so perfectly. You think you're putting off writing that report, but what you're really avoiding is the anxiety about whether it's going to be good enough. You think you're delaying a trip to the doctor, but you're actually dodging the fear of what you might find out. The task is just the trigger for the emotion.
Okay, so if this is all about avoiding stress, how does that actually play out in our brains? Let's zoom out a little bit, because it's not just about the stress from one single task. It's bigger than that.
Motivational speaker Mel Robbins has this fantastic analogy she calls the stress backpack. Just think about all the other stuff you're carrying around every single day. Worries about money, taking care of family, relationship issues, that little voice in your head that's always criticizing you. All of this is weighing you down and just draining your energy before you even sit down to work. So when you're already carrying that heavy backpack, and then you're faced with a tough task that needs focus, your brain sees it as just one more threat. It basically says, nope, I can't handle anything else right now. I need a break. And that is the exact moment you suddenly find yourself scrolling through your phone or cleaning out a closet. And it actually goes even deeper than that. We all know about the fight or flight response, right? Well, there's a third one, freeze. When an animal is totally overwhelmed by a predator, it sometimes just freezes in place. Procrastination is the modern cognitive version of that. Your brain gets so overwhelmed by stress that it just stops you. It's a protective mechanism, not a moral failing. But here's the really good news. This isn't permanent. A 2012 study from MIT actually found that the part of your brain called the prefrontal cortex can step in and basically switch off these deep-rooted habits. So what this means is that even though procrastination feels totally automatic, you absolutely have the capacity to break that pattern. Now, the real trap with procrastination is that it doesn't actually get rid of the stress. In fact, it creates this awful, self-perpetuating cycle that just makes everything worse. So here's how that loop works. Step 1, you feel stressed. So step 2, you put something off to get a quick moment of relief. But then, step 3, that delay makes you fall behind, which creates real problems, like a tighter deadline and those awful feelings of guilt and shame. And that, of course, leads to step 4. You feel even more stressed, which makes you want to procrastinate all over again. Sound familiar? So the big question is, how do you get out of this trap? Well, the research points to a really clear, actionable method. And it's not about just trying harder. It's about working with your brain's emotional triggers, not fighting against them. It really comes down to these 3 steps. First, and this is huge, forgive yourself. Research actually shows that self-compassion breaks that shame cycle. Second, identify the real stress. Ask yourself, what's truly weighing on me right now? That helps you unpack that stress backpack. And third, just start for 1 minute. The goal isn't to finish, it's just to break the paralysis and begin.
When you get right down to it, beating procrastination isn't really about productivity hacks. It's about fundamentally changing your relationship with yourself and how you handle your stress.
And this gets to such a critical idea. We think we need to feel confident before we act, but it's the other way around. Belief doesn't come first, action does. Every single time you use that 3-step method to just start, you're sending a powerful message to your brain that says, hey, I can handle this. I'm in control. That action is what builds real self-belief over time.
So in the end, when you work on your procrastination habit, you're not just chipping away at your to-do list. You're developing emotional regulation skills. You're learning how to manage the real, underlying stress that's been holding you back this whole time.
And that kind of leaves us with this one final thought. Just imagine how things could change if you reframed the entire problem. The next time you feel that pull to put something off, instead of beating yourself up, just get curious. Ask yourself that one simple question. Seriously, the answer might just change everything.